So first we need to set up. We have two pots here, which really should be a lot bigger, but I don't have exactly what I need, but it will still work. So I have these big pots, which we are going to put the applesauce in to bring to a boil. And I have ready this pot of water, which we are going to be putting the lids in. And those have to bring to a boil, which softens up the rubber inside here so that it will make a nice seal on the jars. And when we use I'll show you these things as we go. This thing is for lifting the jars out of the hot water when it comes. I just like to have everything ahead of time ready. We have a ladle, and we have this, I don't even know what you call it, but you put it in the jars like this so that it's easier to pour. I have a lot of jars, which I have them clean, but because they've been sitting for a while, I rinse them out, and then I'm going to heat them up in the oven because the applesauce is going to be hot. And if you put hot applesauce into cold jars, you're likely to crack the jars. So our goal is to not crack any jars today. This is our workstation. We are going to have Karsten cut in apples, and we are going to have Esther cut in apples. And I cut apples and I just do all kind of things, kind of bouncing between all the stations. Here are 2 boxes of apples that I got from the Amish guy who has a store here in Campbellsville. I have another box. We are going to be doing these 3 boxes hopefully today, and then we're going to be doing more boxes other days. My goal is to have at least 100 quarts of applesauce this season. Esther is one who absolutely loves making applesauce, and she asks, is it time to make applesauce yet? Today is the day. Tell us, Esther, what do you think about making applesauce? Is it fun? Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's your favorite part about making applesauce?
I don't know.
Do you like eating it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you know, people that don't like applesauce somehow like my applesauce. So, sounds pretty proud, but I'm glad that people like our applesauce. Last year we didn't make any because we had so much left over from the year before. The year before we made well over 100 and gave away loads as well, and still had plenty for ourselves. And it keeps really well. I do 2 kinds. I add cinnamon to some, and some I just do plain, but I do not add any sugar. The apples are sweet and it tastes really good. These are the 2 apple cutters, and they are just doing a great job. We are just getting started. We have bowls to put apples in and bowls to put compost in. Sometimes they get mixed up, but we have to sort it out. So I am the blender, and I'm about to start blending the apples that are freshly washed. It's important to have a really good blender for this. I don't think it would work without it, but I have the Vitamix, and I'm going to be using this. I absolutely cannot do without it. I'm going to have to stand on the stool and plunge this down really hard because that's the only way to do it. And yes, keep hydrated because this is a very busy job, and it's important not to forget to drink. It's a beautiful fall day out there. I've blended a few times with this. It starts out like this, and I'm using this to push it down really hard. And then the blender is pretty much keeping going pretty much constantly because this will go down to about this level, and then I'll add more apples to it and get it really smooth. And the reason why people really like my applesauce is because it's really, really, really smooth, like the smoothest applesauce that you've ever had. Applesauce, and now she's putting it into jars. It has pretty much come to the boil, but we're going to be putting it in a hot water bath. And I was thinking the apples that we used are some form of golden delicious. The Amish guy told me, I think one of the boxes is golden supreme or something, but anything like that will work really well. This thing is very helpful. so you make as little mess as possible. We start with a clean kitchen. We try to keep it clean as we go along. So we wipe the jars around the rims, because if you have something in there, the rubber is not going to seal so well. So then you use this handy little wand and you place the lid on the jar, use something else to detach it from the wand, take the screw top, screw it on tight but not too tight, and we will have it ready for the water bath. You want to use new lids, and I want to talk to you about lids for a minute. The lids are sometimes hard to find. Last year we had a hard time finding lids, everybody did, and then we came across a big sleeve of lids and we got them. So we know that hard times are coming, and it will be harder still, and more people are looking to preserve their own food. So anytime you see lids, be sure to grab them if you can afford it. Stock up, you're going to need a lot. And the screw tops you can reuse. You can also reuse the lids, but it's not a for sure thing. They may seal, they may not, but it's a good idea. With applesauce, at least you could do some like that, and if they don't seal, you can put them in the refrigerator and use them right away. These guys are too fast for me. They're doing amazing, and Hannah is not here because she is sick, and she really wanted to make applesauce, so she'll catch us next time. It's cracked, even though it was in the oven, and Rebecca put the hot applesauce in it. She heard the crack, and if you can see right down the middle there's a crack, and that will sometimes happen because jars get old. We had some visitors come, so we've taken a break. We have done 2 bushels of apples, and we are about to do the third one. So this is what we've got, and we had a little extra that is in the fridge, and I will show you how we do the water bath. Over 50 jars, and I'll probably do applesauce just one more time because I still have jars from before. So this is the hot water bath, and this one is really big. It fits 9 jars, and you fill it. You make sure that the jars are still hot, so you don't want them to have a shock. If they've got cooled down a little bit, you just need to make sure, as mine were, they had cooled down some different degrees. So I put them in and started adding the water and heated up slowly just to make for less of a chance to ruin the jars, crack the jars. And then we're going to bring it to the boil, and I think I'm going to let it boil, kind of simmer, lightly boil for probably about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to take them out and let them cool before I remove the lids, not the lids, the screw tops, and I will then put them downstairs in storage until we need them. So there's been a lot of cleaning up to do. We've cleaned up most of it, and all the apple pieces are great for compost, all the little pieces that we didn't use, and that of course is great for the garden. By the way, it takes a really long time for this to come to the boil because it's so big. So while it's coming to the boil, you can be doing other things, go about your life, do the laundry, do the cleaning, take care of your animals, take care of your kids, just do this other stuff, because we are going to be literally boiling this all day, and we have just got our first batch in, so it's just about to the boil, and then I'm going to set the timer for about 15 minutes, something like that. And you don't have to be too exact, we just want to be really safe. One year I did a different method of applesauce that I had actually done the year before successfully, but this year it messed up. This was a few years ago, and literally I lost so many jars of applesauce. I mean, I don't know, maybe 60, I don't know, a lot of applesauce went moldy. So you just want to be really sure that you get it boiled enough, and so that it's going to last really well. This is when we're going to take these jars out of the water, which is really, really hot. So we're gonna use this thing and we're going to hold it really tightly. And we're going to just put them on this towel for right now. Later on we're going to move them to another towel, but just so that it's convenient, not too far away. And the applesauce is really good. Most of it is plain applesauce because I didn't have a lot of cinnamon. But I'm going to put them all on this towel, and then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. This is good water. We can reuse it. It's nice and hot, but if we try to put some of these jars, which are kind of warm, in there, the jars are likely to crack. So we're going to take some ice and pour it into the hot water right here to cool it down some, and then we're going to bring it back to the boil with the jars. My bowl of ice, I'm going to pour it in here. Whoa. And I'm going to mix it around a little bit, and I'm going to test the temperature with my finger because I don't want any cracked jars, because that is so wasteful. And all the hard work we put into it, I certainly don't want to be wasting it. Another bowl. It was just way too hot. I didn't test it with my finger yet. It's melting a little slower this time. Maybe about ready now. It's okay if it's warm. I just don't want it to be boiling hot. In the last batch I had no cracked jars. When the jars crack in the water, it makes a big mess, as you can imagine. Then you have to dump it out and start over again. And we have very bad water pressure, so that's a lot of water to wait on to fill up this pot. A third bowl going in. And that has got to be it. Able to touch it barely with my fingers now. It's like a bath that is way too hot. You know, if you take a bath sometimes and you try to get in the bath and it really burns your feet. Well, actually, it's a lot hotter than that. But I think it will be fine for these jars. So I'm just going to let that sit for a minute, and then I'm going to put the jars in. So we're going to use this again, and we're going to be putting it in like this. And it's a little scary because it is very hot still. Need to lift these things up. And I will show you once we've got them back in. We've got the jars in. We're going to put the top on, and we're going to turn it on high again. And then we're going to wait. And it's going to take a while. But that's okay, because we've got plenty to do. I'm going to go out and take care of the dogs now. Hi, Joshua.
Hi.
We have two medium-sized puppies who are 10 weeks old. 10 weeks old tomorrow. And this one is available for adoption. That's really super cute. This little girl actually went to her new home already, but they weren't able to keep her because of some personal family problems. And she gets to find another home, so we're looking for another home for her right now. But in the meantime, these guys get to play with her. She's got a brother still here who will be leaving in a few days. Basil here, solely for the purpose of making pesto. With me and see Kirsten's litter of puppies. This is Ruth, and she has some beautiful baby puppies who are 3 weeks old, just over 3 weeks old, and they're doing really, really well. They're starting like nibbling on a little bit of food and a little water, but mostly they're drinking milk from their mommies. Mommy. We've got another mommy. I'll show you. Here's Coco and Gideon. Gideon has just been breeding with a female who named Female, and he is going to go back in with the other dogs soon. And Coco was kind of having some issues with them, so I'm hoping she's going to go back. But we'll see. She has some 3-week-old puppies also. One of them is right here outside, but most of them we're going to find are inside, which is where I really like them to be, but they're old enough they can be out here. This guy is so cute. We have that pan, and I'm going to get the puppies some more food because Emily can get some more food, but they can't, so they are going to get some food. They like to nibble on it. They really, like the others, they are drinking milk from Emily and loving it, growing so well. Maybe without dog treats. We buy a lot of these, and it helps us. Sometimes we really need them to get the dogs to go where we want them to, but a lot of times they just get to eat them just because. Coco, get in. You want one, Coco? I get one for you too. And one for you. We are enjoying the food. These puppies are just doing really, really great. She has 7 of them. Okay, so for some reason, this jar has burst. I'm not sure if the glass cracked or what, but it is applesauce water in there, and we are going to have to take out all the jars as usual and rinse them off, and then we're going to dump out all that water and fill it back up. So it's going to take a while. So occasionally this will happen, and it's just the way it is. So I have taken these jars out. I'm going to let them cool before I rinse them off, and I'll show you what has happened to this one here. And I don't know why. Could be old, but it is completely broken off, and all the applesauce is in this water. So I'm going to let it all cool down, and then I am going to take it out. Take out the glass, dump the water, and start again for all these other jars. This is the next day. I didn't get them all done, and we actually had some more applesauce that's in the fridge, but this is what we are going to preserve. We're just going to make sure that all the lids stay so they don't pop up like this. Shrunken in. Anyway, we're going to make sure the jars are really clean, and then we're going to take them downstairs and we're going to store them, and these are going to stay really good for a really long time. So that's how we make applesauce. And this is our second batch of applesauce that we did about a week later. This is all cinnamon applesauce, and I use ginger gold and another kind that I don't remember the name of, but that it's best to use a soft juicy apple, and that was more like this kind. So I have about 88 quarts that I am preserving. I have some in the fridge as well, and I did want 100, but I do have still left over from before, so I have over 100 quarts. So I may not do more. I may just get one more bushel and do that, but we'll see. We'll see. It's a lot of work, and we're kind of done, so we'll see.